All right, let's just dive right into this because it's something almost every single one of us has been told at some point. You know the drill, right? Cut the coffee, skip that daily latte, make it at home, and just watch your savings magically grow into this giant mountain of wealth. So here's the crucial point. Obsessing over the latte is actually completely useless. Why? Well, because it treats a symptom while totally ignoring the underlying disease. When we hyper-focus on skipping that one small purchase, we're basically handing ourselves a false sense of security. It's literally like putting a tiny Band-Aid on a broken arm. Sure, you did something, but it's not fixing the root cause whatsoever. We blame the coffee for why we're broke, but the coffee was never the disease. And this brilliantly illustrates what nobody tells you. That coffee purchase, it isn't really about the coffee. It's not even about the caffeine. It is about the time it buys you. It buys you exactly 5 minutes of peace. 5 whole minutes where you're just standing in a cafe or sitting in your car and you aren't thinking about draining relationships or a job you absolutely hate or the bills piling up or a future that just feels completely uncertain. That little purchase is acting as a pressure release valve for your life. And you simply cannot shame someone out of using a pressure release valve without giving them another way to let out all that built-up pressure. So what actually happens when you finally do the right thing? You cut the coffee, you cancel those minor streaming subscriptions, you proudly start bringing your lunch from home in little containers, you've fixed the visible leak, right? You've cut the cord on those bad habits. Well, now what's really interesting is what happens next. For a lot of people, the reality is the money is still gone. Seriously, nothing actually changes. The money just disappears somewhere else. It turns into this huge impulsive Amazon order late at night or some expensive weekend trip you couldn't really afford but convinced yourself you deserved. The money still leaks out because that visible coffee, it was never the actual leak. It was just the most visible drop. The real leak is way underneath the surface, and it is still running at full blast. And here is the emotional truth of this whole explainer. And yeah, this is the part that really stings to admit. This isn't a spending problem at all. It is an avoidance problem. Every single small purchase, every treat yourself moment that you indulge in is simply a way of not sitting with something uncomfortable. You're basically using these purchases as a shield, just so you don't have to face what's really bothering you. I mean, we've all been there, right? Lying wide awake in a dark room, staring blankly at the ceiling. That avoidance connects directly back to its source, unprocessed stress. It's that unexamined financial anxiety keeping you up at night. It's the deep-seated fear of actually planning for your future because, well, sitting down to plan means facing exactly how far off track you feel you are. Let's be real. Tapping your card for a coffee is a heck of a lot easier than lying awake confronting that heavy, unprocessed stress. So the crucial thing to recognize here is the cruel irony of the situation. It's like a trap inside a trap. When you cut that coffee out of your daily routine, it actually feels like progress. You feel highly disciplined. You feel like you're doing the responsible adult thing. And because of that, you stop looking any deeper. You've solved the visible problem, so your brain totally tricks you into thinking all the hard work is done. Meanwhile, the real emotional root cause, the actual reason you reach for those comfort purchases in the first place, remains completely untouched. I want you to really reflect on this for a second. Just think about the last time you bought something small just to feel a little bit better. Did you actually crave the item itself? Or did you just crave a moment with zero expectations? A moment with absolutely no difficult conversations waiting for you? Because that is not a coffee problem. That is an emotional problem wearing a coffee-shaped disguise. Breaking this cycle does not require you to open up some complicated spreadsheet. It does not require you to download yet another budgeting app on your phone. And it certainly doesn't require just forcing yourself to have more discipline. Instead, it requires you to sit down and finally get brutally honest with yourself about what you are actually running from. So the next time you look at your bank statements, I want you to do it without an ounce of judgment. Seriously, don't even look at the numbers. Look at the transactions and ask yourself to identify the driving feeling behind each one. What were you feeling right before you made that purchase? Were you incredibly stressed out? Were you profoundly bored? Were you lonely? Were you just entirely overwhelmed by your day? Finding that answer matters so much more than the dollar amount ever will. I want you to imagine yourself 5 years from now. One of 2 potential futures is going to be true for you. In the first future, you finally sat down, you faced the discomfort, and you dealt with the stress and the avoidance you were trying to buy your way out of. Now, you're in control of your money because you are in control of yourself. In the